What's up, guys?
What's
Guess
good, bro?
who's back?
Guess who's back? Back again. I'm back. Don't tell your friends. Sound like your friends. Just kidding. Wow, man. Yeah, it's been what, a month, 3 weeks, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. You were on vacation for quite a while.
Well, I had to take a mental break, clear my head, get my shit straight, and figure a couple of things out. And well, your boy did it. So we back in the biggest way ever. Guessing Bill Stiegel, bro, the mayor of Conjure Town. I am so excited for this one, bro. Oh man, U.S. Arc updates. I know we haven't talked about it for a while, but I mean the only big one is what happened in Florida, the Holy Thursday massacre. Seems to be everyone's talking about it, which is great. We need to continue to push on it though. We can't get complacent. We need to stay on top of the Florida's government, FWC, let them know that we still ain't happy about what happened and we're not going to let up until we see something done to those officers for what they did. Legal matters, not physical harm or anything negative to their personal selves. But what would that be? Judicially? Is that the word I'm looking for? I don't know, whatever. The legal matter. I feel like those officers need to be relieved of duty. I don't know if anybody agrees with me, but that's I think a justifiable means. Like, these guys are supposed to be the ones that uphold the law, right? Like, they're supposed to know and conserve wildlife, whether in captivity or not. They should have been able to identify that boa. They should have known better.
Mm-hmm.
The retics and the berms, yeah, they got whatever shady ass justification that they're using. It's still not right, but they killed a pet that's legal in, I believe, all 50 states. I could be speaking. There could be one or two, but yeah. So we're gonna talk about that more tonight. Make sure you guys are subscribed and tuned in to US Arc Florida. Make sure you are an active member for US Arc Florida. US Arc supporting the boys Daniel and Phil Goss and everybody that's involved. Vanessa, got to talk to her for a minute yesterday. They're doing the good work. Shout out to Gary over Constricted and Addicted. If you guys aren't on his Instagram, go give him a follow. And the incredible work that he was doing with California Wildlife and Control, putting the name out there, getting them involved in the hobby in a positive way, so we're not dealing with FWC's BS in California. Shout out to anybody and everybody in Arizona that's working with Arizona Game and Fish. I know there's a handful of people out there. Let's just keep doing the good work. Keep pushing and keep supporting and loving one another and letting them know that we're not happy. Let DeSantis know, hey, you got to get control of your region, guy. This clown's supposed to be president or something like that. Ain't gonna happen.
Seriously, man. Man, we were talking about that when Alvaro was on here. We were talking about all of that, man. I don't know, man. I tried watching that video, like I tell everybody, I could barely get to the part where he starts screaming, and then I can't watch it anymore, dude.
And I watched it a handful of times, man. I watched it through and through, and it's an emotional video, but I get every gory detail out of it. It's not cool to desensitize yourself to it, but that's kind of what I did, so I could break it down a lot like Donnie did. And watching that one, I don't know if he was an officer or director or whatever the hell that dude was that looked at the tag and then killed the snake anyways, bro. Like, that just tells me it's an attack on the hobby. But again, let's get into this when we get Stiegel in here. Let's shout out the sponsors.
Right, shout out Reptile Crew. You don't got their merch, right? Go and get it.
Homie. Exactly. Met the homie. Got to see all the new merch that he dropped yesterday. Man, talk about big things. Johnny has got the absolute. He wants to take the world by storm, and what a chance to be involved with somebody with the world in sights of vision. Johnny's an incredible person, such a positive person, and to hear his dreams and everything, I'm excited, man. And talk about the best merch. Like, not even like it sucks in a good way to be sponsored, because like I want to boast about it without the sponsorship because it's genuine. You know what I mean? It's not just a sponsorship when I say Reptile Crew is the only hat that I trust to cover this chrome dome. And they last forever. Like, I really put it out there. Like, I was talking to somebody while I was behind the table with him yesterday. Like, the black Reptile Crew hat, so this one I preserved for the good stuff. But the black one, I've really tested it, man. Those hats are freaking durable. They've been on multiple herping trips, hiking trips, falling down the side of Red Rocks up in Sedona. Been thrown around and abused by the kids because they're messing around, not paying attention to what hat they're messing with. They're durable. Good quality product that Johnny's pushing out over there at Reptile Crew. And my bow is running away from me.
Right, and we got South Bay Reptiles. Josh, the homie.
What? He sent you a shirt, not me? Bro, we throwing hands.
Bro, I have Josh's shirt right here. Look at this shit. This shit is fun.
Mark my words, Josh. Kick you in
Yeah,
the pinky toe when I see
right.
you, bro.
And then we got Ship Your Reptiles. You want to ship your reptiles, use Flexin 23. You get $15 off your shipping. Go
Yes,
use
sir.
our code. And then you got CMB Reptiles.
Number one selective captive bred shop in Arizona, let alone the nation. Partnered up with Reach Out Reptiles, the only place on the west side of the coast that you can get Garrett Hartle's Productions coming straight out of CMB. Shout out to the homies, the family. I love them. I love Bill. I love Caleb. I love Dana. That is my family over there. If you need a hand-picked selective captive bred animal, go hit up my fam. They are on Morph Market, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all of it. Go hit my fam up.
Mm-hmm. And then we got KC Reptile Lab for substrate. We also have a code for that. It's Flexin. What is it? Flexin 28 or something?
I don't know, bro. Memorize the codes.
Yeah, I can't remember. It's too many codes, man. I know it's Flexin something. I'll put the code in the description.
Hit up our link
get
tree.
like 50%. Yeah, 50% off. But on that note, y'all ready? Let's go. I'm ready to go.
Let's do this, man. Let's get this intro run. Get Stiegel in here, bro. I'm excited. I hope you guys are pumped up. The mayor of Condro Town is guesting the show. Let's go.
Right?
And
on that note, we are going. We on.
You shave your eyebrow again or no?
Throw some snakes and have fun with it basically. So a lot of people like that platform.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was gonna ask why you guys don't repost them because I went back to find the one that you guys did with Zach for the intro.
We still get messages today like, why don't you guys post them? Like,
every week I get DMs, people mad as hell. Man, just fucking repost it.
Also for the live fool.
Exactly. It's even to the point one day we were
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Sexin and Flexin Live Sunday. We got Levi from FTL Reptiles and the one and only himself, Bill Stiegel from Phoenix Reptiles. What's up?
Levi, Chris, man, I've been looking forward to chatting with you guys.
Same, bro. Same. I'm so trying not to fangirl, man. What an honor to have you on the show. Thank you.
The pleasure is mine, and thanks for getting me on. We've had this plan for a while, haven't we?
Yeah. Been building up to it.
Yeah. I saw in the intro you had Jaffe and KG. I guess you guys were on their Instagram. I just did their Instagram live earlier in the week. So
nice.
It was pretty awesome.
I think I saw that one. I was like, we're gonna have Bill on the show.
Jaffe's got chondro fever bad.
Yes, he does.
He does. I love it.
He picked one up, didn't he?
I thought he did.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's got one for sure. At least one. He showed it on the Instagram. Yeah. He definitely has one.
Nice.
He's going to get one from me pretty soon.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, I was gonna say, man, if you need, boy, you can't skip out on the mayor of Condor Town. Let's go do it. You gotta do it right.
We'll keep our fingers crossed for a good Condor season this year. I'm off to what looks to be a pretty good start, and so hopefully, if it finishes well, it'll be a good season.
Nice. Okay, so what you got? What you got going on this season? What do you have on the ground, and what do you have coming?
So I've got a small split clutch with a friend of mine up in Maryland. The first sickness, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, a snake that I produced years ago called the sickness. It's real melanistic, but his kids have started to produce animals now, and so we got our first clutch of sickness grandkids on the ground.
Ooh.
So I've got 4 of those here. The other 4 stayed up in Maryland, and I've got 3 clutches in the incubator. I've got a girl that's in her post-ovulation shed right now, and then I've got another girl that's due to ovulate here within the next week. So,
ooh,
sounds like a good start, and it is a good start. But green trees are, man, there's so many breaks along the chain that can go. I never literally count my chondros till they hatch because a lot can still, go wrong.
Absolutely. So even after they hatch, though, right? Like you have to be precise in everything that you do.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm fortunate enough now that if I can get the babies to come out of the egg and perch, then they've got a 90+% survivability, with me going through the feeding trials. That was not the case my first few clutches for sure. And I wish that I would have had some of the clutches, now that I had a decade ago where I just essentially killed the babies because I just didn't have the skill set that I have now. But that's just the way it is.
Okay. So when you talk about this skill set, right? So we'll use Jaffe, for example, right? Well, I don't know. Jaffe's actually a really bad example because that dude is one of the smartest motherfuckers in the game. And I feel like he gets slept on for it. His vast knowledge of many, many species is insane. So let's say somebody that has absolutely no idea about chondros.
Yeah.
Right? Coming from ball pythons, boas, retics. What is your advice to them to gain that skill set?
Well, I think the best thing you could do is try to find a mentor that's in your area. And if there's any way possible that you could go over and watch somebody feed baby green trees, you would blow off the learning curve. I mean, it would just be a huge example. Now, obviously, in most cases, people aren't able to do that. So talking to somebody that's done it, getting a mentor, and then, watching some videos is the best way to learn. And I think about 75% of these things, really, if you have just a little bit of fundamental knowledge and you watch some videos, 75% of them, are going to eat pretty readily for you. But about 25% are really going to need, a significant amount of work and trying different things and, different kind of scenting. And, it's hard to know how much tease feeding is enough, how much is too much, when to quit, when to let them rest. All that kind of stuff just comes with experience, and there's no way to get that other than just doing it, man.
Okay, I feel it. So when you say scenting, what are you scenting with?
So I've tried, and most green tree breeders have tried everything under the sun, but far and away, chick down is the number one, what I've had the best success with. So literally just plucking the feathers off baby chicks, letting that dry, and then, putting the pink, a few strands of chick down on, and then presenting it. And in fact, it works so well, I don't even try without chick down scenting the first couple meals. I mean,
okay,
they all get chick down scented, and then once they eat successfully, I'll start weaning them off of that, and then just trying to get them to eat just pinks.
Okay, word.
So it's it's one of those things where it's just part of the challenge that makes it fun for me. There's nothing as rewarding as finally getting a little bastard baby to eat after it spits. Just it wants to just spit that food out because that's not what it's used to eating in the wild. Like when these things hatch, in Indo, they're looking for baby skinks and maybe little baby frogs and stuff like that. They're certainly not eating mice pinks when they come out of the egg.
For sure. All right. So it sounds like colubrid breeders could relate to this.
Yeah, I've talked to other people, and I've never done colubrids, but I know there's other species that the babies can be difficult to establish, and you just have to be passionate about it, man, and you have to talk to some people that have been successful doing it, and it's not rocket science. You just have to be passionate about it, willing to try some different stuff you haven't tried before, and anybody that can do it that really wants to do it.
No, absolutely. I've worked with a couple of species of colubrid where scenting is like almost mandatory. And it's, man, hats off to you. It's not easy the first go round. That's for sure. It's a unknown things are scary. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But once you get the hang of it, it's pretty, I wouldn't say it's easy every time, but you get used to it.
Yeah, you get used to it, and the stress level goes down, the frustration level goes down, but it seems like the enjoyment never goes down. Like I'm as excited today to get a baby to eat as the first time I tried it, a decade ago. It's always just so like these things are so small and they're so fragile, and I always wonder, how do these things survive in the wild? So to get one to eat, it just feels like a huge sense of accomplishment, even if they eat easily,
Oh, absolutely. Wow. I could see the satisfaction in that and getting it every single time. So staying on the scenting subject, right? Just out of curiosity. So when you get a wild caught in, I guess not you in specific, but like somebody that's interested in working with bringing in new blood, doing the wild caught import side of it, do you have to scent when they get here?
I'm the worst person in the world to ask that because I've never done it. I've worked exclusively with captive bred animals. I take that back. I have one animal one time, a long time ago, maybe 7 or 8 years ago. I wanted to try the import thing and just see what it was about, so I could at least have an opinion about it. And so I did import a small number of babies from Bushmaster. And they established well for me. I didn't have to scent them. They were, already larger, already a little bit well established. Hell, they were probably wild caught, but I didn't have to scent them, and I think they established fairly well for me. But to be honest, I think I got kind of lucky because a lot of people don't have that experience, and the fact that I had experience feeding green and keeping green trees probably helped me a little bit. But I wouldn't recommend that for somebody, especially if it's their first green tree.
Okay, I was gonna ask somebody like it. As far as like my experience in the path that I've walked so far, like I think I think, right? I think going the wild caught would be the route I would want to go. What would be your advice to me? Just don't do it as a first timer.
Well, it's a gamble, and my greatest fear is that people get their first green tree and they have a negative experience with it, and they say, "This is the reason I never got into green trees because they die or they're super defensive, bitey, bite your face off, can't handle them." All the myriad of things that if you go to an expo and you see an imported Biak on the table, all those things are going to be true, So I really like people for their first experience with a green tree to be a positive one. And if you get a captive bred one from a reputable source, you got such a much higher likelihood of being a positive experience your first time. And then, if you get comfortable with it and, you down the line, and you want to bring an import in and try to establish it or breed it, then that's your decision. I just have never gone that way. First of all, it's against the law, to import chondros into the United States, wild caught chondros. I'm not a teetotaler, but technically it's against the law. And secondly, they just are not going to. I have found that, especially if you want to reproduce them, the ones that do the best are the ones that you get and you raise in your space, your room, your facility, whatever you have, over a period of years. Those are the ones that are going to really do well for you and breed well for you.
Okay. Word. So there it is.
It's there's no shortcuts, man, in these things, or very few shortcuts. If I'll get a ball python in if it comes from a reputable source. Hell, man, I'm breeding that female, the next week. But green trees don't work that way. And when I moved my facility here almost 5 years ago, I didn't even try to breed green trees that year. I gave them an entire year to acclimate to, even though I only moved 45 minutes away, acclimate to the new facility. So, you just gotta have the, long-term approach.
So when you moved, how many green trees did you have 5 years ago that you had to move?
Oh, I probably had roughly the same number I have now. We're talking about 20 adults.
Okay.
20 adults.
So that's, in the term of like breeders, that's not a large number.
It's not when you're talking about a lot of other different species, but in green trees, 20 adults it's a fairly sizable number. And it's not that they're that hard to take care of. It's just difficult to, obtain that number of animals and keep them, because they mature slower. They're like other species. I don't even consider a green tree a mature until a female's 5 years old. So.
Hey, Bill, and you live in Texas, don't you?
Yeah, I live in the Dallas area.
Shit. All right. I live in San Antonio. That's why I was asking.
Yeah, I thought you lived in Texas.
Yes, I did. I do. But Levi's like, how come you're not over there, like, visiting them all the time? I was like, because I'm not going to drive 5 hours a day. Just go back and forth.
But if you ever come to the NARBC in Arlington, I'm only 40 minutes from there. So if you ever incorporate a trip up there, then come see me. I host a party for out-of-town people Friday night of every NARBC. So
well, then I will be there because I'm trying to get out there to volunteer. So for the NRBC coming up.
Yeah, you're welcome to come out.
Oh, hell yeah. I'm going to hang with the legend, bro. Hell yeah.
I'm going to be there in September too.
There's going to be
then hell yes.
There's going to be a lot of legends here. I'm not one of them, but it attracts a lot of high-end people in the reptile community come up here, and come and hang out, we eat dinner, and just let people blow off a little steam before the NARBC on Saturday and Sunday.
But I'm not gonna lie, like the shows are fun. Like I just go to hang out with the people. Like I don't even go for the reptile.
Do you still go to shows?
Yeah, I was just gonna say I don't even vend the Arlington NARBC. I'm sorry, because I'm too busy like organizing my thing Friday. It's a big deal. There's usually close to 100 people here.
Oh wow! Okay.
And then I go Saturday and just hang out. I like to go to the auction. But yeah, man, I'm just kind of networking and saying hi to all the people that I only get to see a couple times a year. But I do vend. It's funny. I vend small local shows in the Dallas area, which there's so many shows around here. I vend almost every month or every 6 weeks, just a local show. And that's where I'll vend my ball python stuff.
Okay. Nice. Respect.
Yeah. Fun. It's fun, man. I do it because it's fun. I love it. So I have kind of a dichotomy in my collection. I produce some super high-end designer green trees, and then I enjoy producing entry-level ball pythons, get new keepers involved, and just a bunch of bread and butter eye candy stuff like bells and pieds and stuff like that. And that's the stuff that sells at these local shows. So
no, absolutely, yeah, bells and pieds, man. Like, talk about like the.
So I got a question for you. This is very important.
Okay.
Because I'm thinking about doing this. Would you like sell all your ball pythons to get into like something you really love? Like this for you, it's chondros. For me, I'm starting to fall in love with the retics. So I'm
Yeah.
thinking about selling the balls to get into the retics or something else. You know?
Man, it just has to be if you're still passionate or not about the animal. Like I still like ball pythons, and I've been doing them for over 20 years, almost 25 years. But I still I get excited about the projects that I have coming up every year, and I get excited about introducing new people to snakes, and that means ball pythons. For the vast majority, that's almost so many people get their first snake is a ball python. So I love that step, getting people introduced into it. And then we can talk about green trees in a couple years, uh, Chip.
Right?
He's like, hold on. Start the drugs. Don't go overboard yet. But I got you. When you're fully addicted, I'm gonna make it worse. I got it.
Right.
Don't trip. It's
Bro,
really
he's funny.
that's awesome. No, that respect.
I mean, I would never get rid of my ball pythons just to keep more green trees or Borneos or carpets or rough scales. I mean, I like the variety. I like what the ball python brings to the table to new people. And I still like the projects, man. I still like producing stuff that, I get excited, even though it's not some triple or quad, recessive combo. It's stuff that I've never produced. And, man, I want to do it. So.
Yeah, I get that. I do. I get that because like when I had my first clutch of ball pythons for the season, I still get excited. But I'm like years away from quads and all that stuff. But I just get excited just having the babies come out, just being healthy. So
I mean, there's nothing wrong with getting experience of species and then deciding it's not for you. I've done that, like rhino rat snakes. I got some rhino rat snakes. Really thought I wanted to work with them. I had like a 2.3, and even got them up to adults. And then I just kind of just lost interest in them. It's no rhyme or reason, but I said, I don't want to breed these things. I don't want to, because establishing those babies can be some effort too. So I said, I just don't want to do it, so I got rid of them. No shame in that.
Okay. Yeah, because right now I work with a little bit of everything. I got hog noses, rainbow boas. Now I got a retic. I got milk snakes. I love milk snakes. I don't know what it is about them. I just love them.
All that stuff, man, just makes you more seasoned and makes your experience level kind of, you're talking about Jaffe, man. It goes through the roof. And then if you decide to, let's say you decide you want to get into green trees, the experience that you have with all those species will make your introduction into green trees and keeping and producing them a lot easier. And that's what I tell people about ball pythons all the time. I used to get kind of ribbed from the green tree guys. Man, you keep all these ball pythons. What's the deal? I've learned more from keeping and producing ball pythons, everything from incubation, how to fine tune my incubator and my incubation boxes. I burned a lot of ball python clutches early on, learning how to incubate eggs. And now, my green trees are pretty damn rock solid because, I just know exactly what my incubator does. I know what the boxes do. I know what the eggs are supposed to do, certain periods through the process. So anytime you're working with a different species or multiple species, man, it just translates into just golden knowledge.
So talking about incubation, do you incubate your ball python and your green tree eggs together?
Absolutely. Side by side.
Okay. And that doesn't that doesn't hurt the eggs or do anything to them?
Keep them at the same temp. Yeah, like 87.5 is kind of what I shoot for. And yeah, same thing. I keep my ball pythons and my baby green trees in the same rack. The only difference is that I put a little plastic coat hanger for a perch with the baby green trees. That's the only difference. The heat's the same. That it's all back heat. And in fact, I always come prepared with show and tell. So here's a little baby.
Oh wow! Hold up, let me solo you out.
Just a month old. He's had 3 meals, and this is just a coat hanger, plastic coat hanger that's been cut. and it just fastens right here in its tub, just like this. And that's how I keep my baby green trees.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and they literally are right next to my ball pythons. The only difference is I keep these on the lower racks because they do like a little bit lower temperatures than the ball pythons.
So what are the optimum temperatures?
So the babies, I'll keep it's back heat. So if I'm temp gunning that back wall, I like to see 88 to 90 degrees. And then, but if you just move down this perch just a couple of inches, that 90 degrees turns to 86 really fast. And you'll notice this one's hanging out right in the middle, right? So the front of my tub is probably 78 and the very, very back is 90. And where he's hanging out, it's probably right in the mid 80s. Look,
Okay.
his head's coming out a little bit. He's going to say, hey.
Wow. What a beautiful oh, man.
Isn't that cool? Yeah, 1 month old. They just literally turned a month old yesterday. And you can tell, I mean, look at the size of this thing.
Like puny as compared to the species I work with.
Yeah. Absolutely tiny. So they're a lot of fun. And, you know, they're just so, they're so easy to keep. If you get them, you know, if you get the right snake and put it in the right box, they're just really easy to keep. And I think a lot of that is obviously because they're captive born and bred, and just throughout the generations, these things, I think like a lot of species, I know my Borneo shorttails are the same way. They just become over the, you know, generations of breeding and captivity, those things have become more docile and less defensive and easy to breed and all that stuff.
Right? Who doesn't want a Bill's animal in their collection? I know I do.
Nah, for real though. What's that wait list look like?
You know, I never advertise like a green tree for sale. They're usually, you know, spoken for really about this time. I don't really try to start too much of a wait list until animals start coming out of the eggs, because so many things can happen, especially towards the end. But once they come out of the eggs and, you know, I've had a chance to kind of get a look, see what I've had, then they move real quick.
Okay. So let me ask you a question, probably a dumb one. Do you cut eggs or no with green trees?
Oh, it's a great question. And so my typical practice is like I will let them pip, and then 24 hours later, I'll pip the rest of the clutch. But that depends on how the eggs look, and it depends on, you know, if you incubate green tree eggs at 87.5, then 49 days is what the average, the typical, you know, time is when they'll start to pip. 49 days. So if I get animals that maybe start pipping on day 52, 53, 54, then once that pips, man, I'm pipping the rest, you know. Again, and it depends a little bit how the eggs look. If the eggs still look really plump, because they should get kind of deflated, you know, towards the end of incubation. If they're really plump, I might wait a couple days. But to answer your question, it's usually 24 hours after the first one pips.
Okay, cool.
So
That's what I
do with all my stuff, all my other stuff, ball pythons, Borneos, rough scales. You know, I just wait, but I do pip because I think you can have some animals that can't get out of the egg.
Okay, that makes sense. Preservation of life.
The only thing that scares me about the green trees is their teeth.
Well, I can tell you you may call bullshit on this, but I've been keeping them 12 or 13 years. I've never been bitten by an adult green tree.
I mean, I can believe that.
I mean, because part of it's observing behavior, and part of it's just because these things are just by nature, like even it's like nighttime here now. But it's, you know, This is what they typically do when you reach in and pull them out. Trying to get so you can get a good look at it.
Damn. Oh, let me solo you. I'm sorry.
You know, these things are just super docile. They're chill. They're inquisitive. They're not defensive. So yeah, I've never been bitten by one.
Man, that's gorgeous.
I was gonna say, can we just take a second to admire this beautiful specimen? And yeah, and how docile the animal is. Wow.
I
So
love
I
them.
don't know. I don't know if Levi asked this. I don't know if I missed it, but can you walk me through getting the Neils established after they hatch?
Yeah, for sure. So there's a big, I don't know, controversy is the right word, but some people, including myself, will try to feed these things before they have their first shed. And a lot of times you can get these babies to eat before they have their first shed. But maybe it's been anecdotal, but I found sometimes if they eat before that first shed, they end up being the hardest ones to establish after the shed. So I let them shed. Usually takes a week. So I'll let them have that first shed, and then everybody gets a frozen thawed, day-old mouse pink, mouse red, whatever you want to call it. Basically just the smallest mouse you can find. Thawed out, and then I dip it in hot water, and then I dip that animal in chick down and very small feeding tongs. And then most of the time they're going to require tease feeding, which means you find a place, it's usually on the side of their neck, that you'll kind of tap and aggravate them, and then they'll whip that head around, and you try to direct the head of the pink into their mouth. And most of the time, if you do that, within a few tries, they'll take it.
So they'll eat before or after shed?
I feed them after. You can get them to eat before, but I wait till after. I wait till they have that first shed, and then I start feeding trials. And if it's unsuccessful, then I usually give them 4 or 5 days to just kind of rest. It's not one of those things you want to stress them out every day, but I just keep trying and trying and trying. It's not critical that they eat that first couple of weeks. You don't want to let them get behind the 8 ball, but
okay. And do you keep them like in the hatchbacks in the hatch box together until shed, or do you separate right away?
I separate them right away. I think you could keep them in the hatch box until they shed, but I separate them right away because once they shed, I want them to be just kind of ready to go, ready to eat, and kind of already in their own individual tub and all that stuff.
So
okay, go ahead, Levi. I'm sorry.
You had mentioned if they perch. So when you separate them and you put them in their tub, do you put them on their perch, or do you let them do it on their own?
So my hatch box literally has these little tiny coat hanger perches in them, because 90% of the time, as soon as they come out of the egg, they'll perch. Some of them will lay on the ground a day or two, but you always, by the 3rd day, man, they're perched. And so you don't have to put them on the perch. They just do it instinctively. Oh, little bastard. I can just say I got my first green tree bite.
I was about to say, holy smokes.
Oh, did he get you?
Yeah, he just got me a little bit. It's nighttime here. He's hunting.
Damn it, Chris, see what you do.
What did I do? I was like, what did I do?
But he's still, what I did is I put my hand down below him, and he was in that hunting position, and boom.
I've done that. I did that on the live too. We were with Ray from Alluring Serpents. I pulled out my baby to show him, and I went like this, and he went bam.
Uh-huh.
I was like, oh, that wasn't supposed to happen on the live.
You're moving your hand in a food motion.
Yeah, I know. I know. It's because I said I moved my hand like this. That was the whole reason I got bit. And that's the same thing with the retics. Like, I got to stop doing this. Like, I talk with my hands, so
put him back up.
Bill said,
obviously, I don't need to go to the hospital. Bit.
I get it.
I mean, you do. It doesn't. It's one of those rhetorics, right, Bill? Like people show off the green tree python with its mouth open and the pictures or the skulls in the exhibits, and you see how big these teeth are, and it's just the sight of the teeth that's terrifying, right? But nobody takes the time to go, hey, yes, they look scary, but this is how it really is. If you do all of these steps, you will never even know those teeth exist.
Yeah, and then I also look at emerald teeth, like compared to green tree teeth, and go, man, green tree teeth are nothing compared to those things.
Oh, emerald tree. Oh, you want to talk about nightmare fuel. Do you own emerald tree boas?
I do not. I've owned one in the past and enjoyed keeping it, loved keeping it. But I just, you can't keep everything. And if I was going to keep one or the other, I would just prefer to keep green trees. I like their size. They don't get as big as emeralds. And I like the fact that when they go through their color change, especially the stuff that I work with, you never know what to expect. With an emerald, as beautiful as they are and as how different and high white they can be, they're always going to be green and white. The green trees, man, they can be yellow, blue, black, orange, and all mixtures in between. So,
Okay, now help me real quick understand something that I am drastically confused on. So when you mention all these colors, I know they go through a color change. Do they maintain some of these colors up to adulthood?
Well, they're when they hatch, they're either red or yellow. Now, the yellow babies can maintain that yellow up into adulthood, depending on, the lineage, if they're high yellow or you just get lucky, or even look like some of the Kofiau locality types can be very high yellow as adults. The reds are going to change. They're not going to keep that red. They're going to change into different colors. And even the red ones can turn high yellow as adults, which is pretty cool to watch. But they're not going to keep any of that red coloration.
I'm not gonna lie.
Okay.
So the changing color thing, that is awesome.
Oh, it's one of the best things about it. It's one of the great things about keeping them. And most of the time, that color change lasts a long time. Like it lasts. It lasts years. It take some of these animals 4 or 5 years before they're done changing colors.
Oh.
So it's just cool to watch.
So, oh man, I think I just made my decision. I'm going to get an emerald tree boa, but I think I want more green tree pythons in the future at this point. That's incredible. So the red ones are the ones that are going to be blue, black.
The red ones, thus far, what we know, are more likely to turn blue and black. Obviously based on their parents. Like you can't get just any red Neo and say, gosh, I hope it turns blue or black, because unless you have the lineage to go along with it, the likelihood is very, very, very low that that's going to happen.
Okay.
But all of the stuff that's been produced thus far that's been high blue and high black, the vast, vast, vast majority of it has come from red babies that are red.
So now when you're talking about, like, let's say you want to get into the line breeding and you're aiming to make these things, is it the same rule as it is for the super dwarfer ticks, right? We're going to go back to that, like come full circle back to the previous experiences with different animals. When do you know a lot about super dwarfer ticks?
No, I don't, to be honest.
So when you're buying and Chris, this will be fun for you too, because this is where you want to get into, right? So when you look at like Garrett Hartle, the like go-to for super dwarfs. If you want to learn them, you go to Garrett, in my opinion, or Eric Lee. There's other names in there, but like my top two go-tos, and both of them have like solidified it in my brain. When you're going to buy a super dwarfer tick, you want to see mom, you want to see dad, and if you're not doing that, you're doing yourself harm in what you're aiming to produce or what you're aiming to get out of a pet. Because looking at mom and dad, you're going to have an idea. It's not, of course, nothing's guaranteed, right? We're dealing with animals, but you have a very, very strong idea of what your adult super dwarf is going to come out to be. If mom is small, dad is small, you're not guaranteed, but you're almost guaranteed a small animal.
Okay. So you're talking about size more than color and pattern.
Well, that too. The color and the pattern also. Obviously, we're talking about localities right now.
Okay.
So we'll keep it there. Like you're going to have a good idea of what you're going to get out of a Kalatoa to a Kalatoa, right? Nothing else in the blood. We're not throwing or mainland morphs in there or anything. Just Kalatoa to Kalatoa. You have a good idea of what you're going to get. Is it the same? Could that mental be applied to the green tree pythons, the red neonates?
Yeah, and I'll take it even a step further. So the genetics in green trees, it's polygenic. Okay, it's not recessive or incomplete dominant. It's polygenic, which really means if you're looking for a blue baby, you want generations of animals that were blue before it. Obviously, that starts with the mother and the father. But the deeper you go into the lineage, what does grandpa look like? What does grandma look like? And that's why lineage for us is so important. That we have this documented lineage. So yeah, absolutely, you got to know, what mom and dad looks like.
Okay, cool. So there you go, Chris. We went 360 on that one. That's awesome to know because both of us working with super dwarfs and having that, like, basically when you get into super dwarfs, like that is stamped into you. Like if you're buying a super dwarf, absolutely have to look at mom and dad. If you're not doing that, you're not helping yourself at all. And any good veteran breeder of super dwarfs is going to have that basically the same documentation. What mom and dad look like. Every piece of documentation is there.
Yeah, it's real important for us too. Especially, if you're just looking to get, a lot of people, first of all, maybe they can't afford to get some of these higher end designer stuff, but they just want a green tree, right? They want a healthy green tree that's going to go through that color change and, not be a hassle to take care of. And then it's more important, where you get it is more important than the lineage, right? I mean, you just want a healthy animal. It's probably going to end up mostly green as an adult, which is awesome. They're fantastic. But you're not really looking at lineage there. You're just mostly looking at like, all right, was it bred in captivity? Is it a well-established eater? Am I getting it from a good source? And boom, it's plug and play.
Okay, cool. Respect.
So Bill, I'm like really want to get into chondros, but like when I hold that retic for the first time, it was DNT retics. He gave me an ocelot.
Yeah,
And
I know Dax and Taylor well. They're not far from me.
And he put it in my hand, and I just fell in love. Like even the snake was like all over me. I was like, so I feel like the snake will talk, like whether if you want to work with that reptile or not.
Yeah, and I get that too. The problem with green trees is every single time I put one in somebody's hand, they're like, oh my God, this is so different than anything. First of all, they're not expecting to be able to handle it. And secondly, they're just so unique to what most people have handled before or seen up close in person.
And okay, so when do you consider a neo established? Like how many mils?
Yeah,
Because I want to learn.
That's a great question. So my standard answer is 20 meals.
Oh, okay.
20. So now, again, that rule can be broken a little bit under certain circumstances. If somebody's local to me, I may release it after 10 or 12 because I know that if there's an issue, man, I can just either get it back immediately or I can go over there and help them feed it or whatever. But, if it's your first green tree, I'm going to tell you, I want to get 20 meals in it. I want it to be just eating, an eating machine, which these things turn into eventually. But babies can be kind of picky, and they, even though they eat the first 5 meals okay, they could just turn stupid for the next 5. So, but once you get 20 in them and they're just eating consistently, and by that time, especially the size, I just feel more comfortable shipping an animal that's 4 to 6 months old. I've really, I can't even think. I've never had a problem. I maybe have had to have one shipped back to me, reestablished, and then sent it back out. But if you get them eating consistently, man, they're just so rock solid.
So like, when you switch, like when you feed them pinkies, do you try to bump them up to bigger prey like as soon as possible, or how does that work?
Absolutely, as soon as possible, because one of the other issues that baby green trees can have is they can prolapse. And that's another reason why I like to keep them, get 10 meals, 10, 20 meals in them, because they can prolapse, and then you don't want a new keeper, or you don't want anybody to have to deal with that. But the reason we think they prolapse is because they're eating pinks for so long, because they're so small, and the nutritional value of a mouse pink is just absolutely terrible. So we try to get them on fuzzies, man, just as quick as possible. And once they're eating fuzzies reliably, then the risk of prolapse almost goes to zero.
Okay.
Interesting. Okay. So now I'm curious on food variations, right? It's like one of the hottest subjects in the community right now. If you wanted to stick to their natural diet, let's start there. Is that possible? Is it reasonable, let's say?
I know in the wild that baby green trees eat skinks. They're not eating mammals. They're not eating baby birds. They're eating like baby skinks and frogs. The problem with that is that it almost guarantees a parasite load in the baby. Okay, that's why we don't feed them baby skinks in captivity. We want them, to eat pinks. So, but these things as adults, subadults and adults, they're eating rodents in the wild. That's their main food source in the wild. So we just try to get them there a little earlier.
Okay, respect. And then as far as like variation goes, is there any other variant other than rodents that you could like do every, I don't know, like fourth or fifth feeding, right? Just to break out the monotony?
Yeah. Well, and you can certainly feed chicks, and I've on occasion fed chicks to my green trees. But I've also heard horror stories about a beak, chick beak, getting caught in the esophagus and, killing a green tree. Sometimes these things will eat the prey item. You've probably seen it before. They'll eat it backwards, or, they just eat it funky. And so I don't know. I've fed chicks before, but if I'm going to vary diet, I usually just vary the rodent. So go between mice and rats. I think ASFs would be an awesome food source for these things as well. I just don't have a reliable source to consistently or even inconsistently get frozen ASFs.
Okay.
I know a lot of people down here that do that, breed ASFs. There's Abbas reptiles here in San Antonio, and I have ASFs.
Okay. Well, will they ship?
I'm pretty sure he'll go down there because he does go to Arlington all the time.
Yeah.
And he does hang with Earl a lot too. So.
Okay. Well, maybe I can arrange and get him to bring me some up, and because I think they'd be an awesome food source.
I can send you his page.
Yeah. Right. I'd appreciate it.
Why don't you do it, Chris? Breathe ASS. Flash freeze them. And
I have some. Oh, you want me to freeze them? I got to learn how to freeze them because I've never done that.
See, a lot of people that even that I know that do ASF, they're like, no, man, you can just get them live. And all my stuff gets fed frozen thawed. They never experience a live rodent.
It's not worth the risk, right?
I don't know. These things, when they're little, they respond so well to tease feeding that it's actually easier to get them to eat a frozen thawed than it is alive a lot of times, because you're teasing, you're just constantly teasing, the baby green tree, and it's just easier to feed them frozen.
Respect.
So have you ever had to assist feed a baby?
Oh yeah.
Or like, what do you assist feed? Like what do you use? A pinky, rat tail?
Yeah, I'll use a mouse tail most of the time. This year, problem with that, again, with like the pinks is that the nutritional value is terrible. But really, when you're assist feeding, I'm trying to just get the animal to learn what it's like to get something in its mouth and to learn to swallow. Because I can get so many of them, they'll strike and they'll have it in their mouth, but they just spit it out. It's like they don't want to swallow it or they don't know how. So if you assist feed, like a mouse tail, I'll just put it in like halfway and make them swallow the other half. This year, I'm kind of interesting. I'm experimenting with something different, and other people have experimented with assist feeding better nutritional sources. Like some people will try to, literally like get a mouse like foreleg or a rat foreleg, and try to get something more substantive than just a tail. But the last couple times I've assist fed, I've actually used chicken gizzard that I've been able to cut into a strip. It's approximately the size of a pink, and assist feed that. It goes down real easy. The problem with assist feeding a pink is a lot of times you just end up with mush in their mouth. Like right by the time you get it past the mouth, get it past the teeth, you're just looking at a bag of blood. And the nutritional value is terrible. So I've experimented with a few things, and I so far I've liked the chicken gizzard. Just a small strip of it, goes down real easy, and it's got a pretty good nutritional value, I'm sure.
Absolutely. So, damn it, I did it again. I just completely lost the train of thought on that. I was going to go somewhere with that. Oh, have you tried Reptilinks yet?
Yeah, that's a great question too. I have tried Reptilinks, and the problem with the Reptilinks, the small ones, the casing is not very thick. So usually when the baby strikes it, man, it just tears it up. There's like, it might get some stuck in its mouth, but it's because these things, they want to strike and wrap. And when they strike and wrap a Reptilink, man, it just vanishes. It just turns into paste. So I haven't had a whole lot of good luck establishing babies on Reptilinks. I think the adults would probably do well with them. I just haven't found a reason really, to use them.
Okay. I was curious. I haven't even tried Reptilinks I tried them once and had some success with ball pythons, but I haven't tried them in other species yet. So I was just curious.
The other thing I've tried is, and I don't know if they still do, but they used to make scent. Like they made amphibian scent, the frog scent, all these different scents. Man, I tried all of those, and it just didn't seem to help. The ones that are being really stubborn are just being stubborn, and they do need to be assist fed a few times. They need, again, the chick down scenting is what I've found to work best, and you just got to be persistent. And then at the end of the day, you just got to realize some of these weren't meant to make it, and so I'll give them a fair chance. Kind of the good thing about now, as opposed to when I was first doing it, is I know like what I'm doing is appropriate, and basically if they don't eat, it's on them and it's not on me. When I was first starting like doing this and learning it, man, I was like, what am I doing wrong? These fuckers, they won't eat, obviously doing something wrong. And then after some time, you just learn, man, some of these things just aren't going to do it. They just weren't meant to make it. And so I give them every ample opportunity. I want them all to live. You put your heart and soul into these things, and they're so beautiful, and I want them all to live, but it's just not realistic.
So what do you do with the neonates that don't make it? Do you freeze them, keep them, give them up for narcropsies?
No, just Ziploc bag them and trash can them.
Okay.
These things are so small, man. They're like the size of an earthworm, and especially if they don't make it, they'll drop weight, they'll get thin. You're talking about an animal that's less than 10 grams,
Yeah, I don't even think there's a reptile eating reptile that would benefit from that. Now I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, they're like tiny.
They're so small.
Maybe a king snake hatchling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know, maybe a baby cobra or something. I don't know about it. They're going in the trash here.
I keep a king snake in my collection for anything
Just for
anything that doesn't make it by a natural cause. Obviously, if I suspect any disease or anything, I don't do it. But
yeah,
I had a handful of corn snakes not make it last season, and king snake ate good for a week.
Yeah, I bet.
Wait, hold up. So you just drop it in there and it'll just eat it?
Bro, you've never fed a king snake a snake?
No, bro. I don't have any snakes die on me.
I never have either.
Except for the 2 corn snakes, but he was a baby. I can't feed him adult corn snakes.
The baby? Oh,
Yeah, the baby
the
king
king snake was a baby. Oh,
Yeah.
if you get any size of it, just go to somebody that works with king snakes and has stillborns or feeds them stillborn snakes. Like they're out there, you can buy them.
Oh, okay.
Or snakes that don't make it by natural cause, and just for the fun of it, just feed a king snake a snake. It's one of the wildest interactions you will ever have feeding because they go ballistic, bro. Like you think a snake goes like a retic goes ballistic over a rodent, bro. Put a snake in front of a king snake. It triggers something in them and they go berserk.
What do you feed the king snake when you don't have a snake to feed it?
Rodents. They'll bounce between them no problem.
Okay, but they love the snake over it, huh?
Oh, for sure. So like in Arizona, the king snake's primary diet is rattlesnakes.
Okay, I gotcha. Awesome.
I had a buddy find one not too long ago that was it was beheaded, but it was still warm enough. I felt comfortable to feed it. Dude, my cow king went ballistic. It was like I got near the tub and like normally like you'll get a decent feeding response out of a king snake even near the tub, but like popping the lid just the slightest, this thing was like out and ready to go. It was like having a miniature mainland retic and a rabbit. It was crazy.
We got to get one, man.
Oh, for sure.
We got to get a king snake, Chris.
I know a lot of people that keep them around for that purpose, for snakes that don't make it, ball pythons, retics, any snake that does not make it, a king snake will take it.
Yeah, I have one, but I didn't know it ate like snakes.
Yeah, king snakes are snake-eating snakes, man. It's
one
of the biggest dangers in breeding them, but we're getting
all
off
I feed it is a rat pup. As soon as I put the rat pup in there, man, it goes crazy.
Oh, for sure. They're secondary. I guess secondary primary is rodents, but they're snake-eating snakes. It's one of the biggest dangers of breeding them too. Like one of the biggest things you think about. Anyways, getting back to the green trees. At least you don't have to worry about that, Bill. You don't have to worry about them eating each other, right?
Kayla says she's got us on king snakes, man.
Yeah, she breeds and sells them, and some pretty ones at that.
There you go.
Yeah, I got the one king snake I have left, and then I got out of colubrids. Went all over to boa. Sorry to break your heart, Kayla.
Okay, I didn't know that. Sis, thanks.
What'd she say?
Anything with the word king in it eats snakes.
Yeah, king cobra, king snake.
King snake. Okay. She educated me.
They'll eat other reptiles too. It's if anybody that's on Facebook, Bill, you're on Facebook. If you go to what is it, snake predation, I believe is the name of the page. Like it's just people documenting just snakes eating whatever they see at the time, and a lot of it's broken a lot of the rules. Like that page is very, very interesting. Wow. I actually got some pretty decent attention on one I caught, and I know enough about the long nose of this, or the long nose or the ground snake. Can't remember. It was a long nose eating a ground snake out here, and we've known them to be lizard eaters, but nobody's really like it's not massively documented. It may be like a under the table knowledge, I guess, but not brought to the mainstream. That long nose will eat other snakes because I wasn't the only one that observed it. It lit up, and people were like, "Yeah, I've got this long nose eating this one in Texas," and then. California, somebody posted one, and then another guy from Arizona said something about it. It was interesting. It's a fun page.
Oh yeah, I knew that. Sis. I definitely knew that when you put king snakes together, you have to wash them because they'll eat each other.
It is amazing that a species will breed that will also eat each other. I mean, that's just crazy, right?
So how's that go? It's like they come up to each other like, I don't want to eat you. Let's mate.
To be honest, I've never looked into that deeply. I've just made sure the ones that I've put together don't eat each other. You always want to make sure the male is not significantly smaller than the female. So, like, where you could put, like, Bill, I'm sure you're familiar with this. Is it the same with green tree pythons? Like, the male is like almost dwarfed to the female, or are they similar size when you get them paired up?
No, the male can be significantly smaller. Yeah, definitely less. I mean, sometimes you get big males, and I mean. Sometimes you get small males, but a male can be significantly smaller than a female green tree. And in fact, I've seen, these things when you put them together to breed, they're hunting at night, and the slightest movement, like I've gone in and just like to check on them, and then just me being in the mood triggers one of them to bite the other one. Like,
snap.
oh shit, don't do that, you know. I've never had any bad repercussions come from that, but I've also found like many times I'll take the male out after they've, you know, paired or not paired or whatever, and I find teeth in him, teeth in his back, you know, like shit, she bit his ass, you know, and I didn't see it. So I know that. I know it happens. It's got to happen in the wild too, right?
Oh, absolutely. That's crazy. I did not know that. That'll be an interesting.
So at what age do you breed your Neos? Like, how do you know?
Yeah, that's a good question. Males, I'll start giving them a shot at 3 years old. Probably 50-50 they'll breed at 3. Most of the time they'll breed at 4 and almost always at 5. Females, my universal rule is 5 years old, which seems like an awful long time, especially when you're watching them grow up. But this year is the first year I've ever bred a 4-year-old female. And everything was just perfect. She was a good sized animal, and she just looked ready. And so I got kind of ballsy and bred a 4-year-old. I don't know how that's going to turn out because she's the one that's in her post-ovulation shed right now. So, man, she could lay slugs or she could die or who knows. And I may say, man, I'm never breeding another 4-year-old again. But my mainstream answer, man, let them be 5. It's worth the wait to wait one more year. You'll get a better success rate, less likely to get egg bound, all that stuff.
So when you breed the female, do you breed it like for consecutive years, or do you like rotate the female, or how's that?
I will definitely breed females back to back if the year is perfect. So they get back on feed right away. They put that size back on. They're an older female. Like if it's their first year to breed, if they breed when they're 5, I won't breed them when they're 6. But if it's a 7 or 8-year-old female and she has a great clutch, puts her size back on, then I'll breed her back-to-back years. I've got a female that I've bred 3 out of 4 years. She's getting a year off this year, but before that, you know, she laid successful clutches 3 out of 4 years. So they can be bred back-to-back years.
Okay.
Word. So, do you have to food cycle and temp cycle them?
I wouldn't say have to, but I've gotten the best success by light cycling, temperature cycling, and food cycling.
What does that look like?
So really it's pretty easy. The light cycling, I go from 12 on, 12 off to 10 on and 14 off. The food cycling, I literally just withhold food for about 2 months, right as I'm starting the pairings. You know, I'll feed the females a little bit heavier before I start that, but man, these things can go months and months and months and without eating, and you never know they lost an ounce. So I'll give them, the 2 months before I'm going to introduce the male. I'll start to decrease feeding. And then the temperature cycling just is a very small reduction in temperature, only at night. So I don't mess with their daytime temperatures, just the nighttime drop. I'll give them usually about a 5-degree drop.
Okay.
And that's it.
Cool. Yeah. So nothing crazy.
Nothing crazy. Most people that keep these things and breed these things, especially if they're used to working with other species, they keep them too warm. So, like for example, I keep a bunch of different species in my facility, but at nighttime, all the green tree supplemental heat goes off. So they all have adults have radiant heat panels, but all the heat goes off at night, and they're just subject to ambient temperature, which is usually at night, usually about 75 degrees, unless I'm breeding, and then that temp will drop down to 70, 71, 72. But they get no supplemental night heat at all.
Okay. So do you run? What do you run ambient in your room? Do you keep it those temperatures throughout the year?
Yeah, usually it's about 75 degrees in here.
Okay.
And with the green trees, you got a radiant heat panel that's on during the day, and so their warm side might get up to 84. So you're looking at, by the time you get a little heat from the radiant heat panel, my cage temps will be 78 degrees on the cool side and 83, 84 on the warm side. Really no warmer than that unless a female's gravid and is ovulated. I'll bump those temps up a little bit, but you'll never see a warm spot more than 84, for my green trees.
Okay, awesome. Then what about humidity?
Yeah, we could have an entire 2-hour show on green tree hydration and humidity because there's so many different opinions. And the bottom line on humidity is they do require supplemental humidity most of the time, unless you just live in a super humid area. But how much humidity, that's the question. And I don't even measure humidity. I have no idea what the humidity in these cages are. But the bottom line is you want the least amount of humidity and still have a good shed cycle. So if your animal isn't shedding, isn't having good sheds, it's either hydration or humidity, or probably both. So I would encourage frequent water change, a large water dish. And if you're doing that and you're still having bad sheds, you need to be increasing your humidity. And that's different. Every animal's different. Every cage is different. You just have to kind of experiment and get to know your animal, get to know your cage, get to know your ambient humidity. But that's the goal. Provide the least amount of humidity and still get a good shed. So
okay.
I'll mist my green trees. Absolutely mist them when they're in their shed cycle. When they're not in their shed cycle, it's a combination of me either misting the cage, the animal, or wetting the substrate.
Okay.
And then that will bump cage humidity, for the day. I like to see them by the time I come out the next day. I like to see if I've saturated the substrate. I like to see it dry by the next day. So you're not wanting a 24/7 continuous wet substrate.
Okay.
Respect. Okay.
So
it doesn't sound that doesn't sound overly complicated as compared to a lot of other species.
it's really not. It's not. There's nothing scientific about it. You wet the substrate a couple days a week, or you don't, or you spray, or you don't. I mean, so much of it is just dependent on what the animal does. But it's really not. It's not complicated. There's not a lot of measurements, that need to be made. They have a fairly narrow temperature window, but their humidity can be all over the place. It just depends what the animal's doing.
Okay.
Some people never spray, depending where they live, what part of the country, and their cages, their ambient humidity. Some people never spray their green trees. Other people have to spray them a lot, or increase the cage humidity a lot.
I'm like, those are lucky people, man.
I know, right?
Shit, I'm in Arizona, bro. Don't start with me,
bro. We're dry down here too.
Yeah,
I thought Texas is supposed to be humid.
Houston, maybe.
No. Yeah, I was gonna say
Houston, but not Dallas.
El Paso, yeah, out there, hell yeah.
Yeah, not Dallas, man. We're dry here, especially if you're running the heater in the winter. We get super dry here. My room humidity will be 15%.
Jesus, that's insane. Yeah, in the winters and the summers here, I got to run supplemental humidity to even get the ambient up.
Yeah, I mean, I do too, but I really don't know how much that helps. I think just as long as you're increasing that cage humidity, that's more important.
Oh, for sure. And like you had mentioned, wetting the substrate. Like, I mean, Arizona, for a prime example, I kind of break that like wet substrate rule. Like, I basically have to keep the substrate wet throughout the summertime, otherwise it will dry. It becomes a Sahara freaking desert in the enclosures.
Yeah.
It's insane, and that's just trying to maintain ambient with an AC running, it's impossible.
Again, then you have to take in like your cage ventilation. Like if you've got good cage ventilation, you can keep that substrate wet all the time. Not that big of a deal as if you have just a stagnant cage.
Oh, for sure. getting the airflow is priority out here. I've struggled with it for years.
Yeah, there's nothing. You know, a lot of people like they find a lot of satisfaction when their snakes eat. Like, oh man, he's healthy, he's doing great because it's eating. In green trees, it's like if they have a good shed, or even if like you see it drink out of the water bowl, you're like, holy fuck, let me get my camera, man. It's drinking out of the water dish, you know, because they all eat. You know, eating is they'd eat every damn night if you fed them. So,
Oh,
you know, it's all, you know, I love to see like good sheds, and even if you catch them drinking out of that water dish, it's really cool.
So when I get into green trees, right, do you think I'm going to struggle with humidity for the first bit, like getting that perfect balance down, being out here in Arizona?
Maybe. But you'll dial it in super quick.
Okay.
You'll dial it in super quick. You'll know. And if these things have a bad shed, it's not the end of the world. You know, we, you know, my other species, if they have a bad shed, and my ball pythons, especially in the winter, have bad sheds too. And I just
mine's too.
Just soak that thing. You know, as long as you don't get behind the 8-ball and it's stacking bad shed on bad shed. You know, you just soak that thing, and the shed will come off, and then you just say, okay, I need to saturate that substrate a little more. Or I need to spray a little more. You'll see. You'll dial it in real quick.
Okay. So out of curiosity, right now that we're talking about this, when I first got into this, I had a buddy get a green tree python, the very, very beginning of everything. And I remember he had water in the bottom of his tub. Like there was like, I don't know, probably 2 or 3 centimeters, and it was like a pond basically underneath the snake. Is that a trick that's out there that I'm unaware of that I've never heard about, or is that something that you should not do?
So I don't know if you could see. I still have this baby's tub sitting right next to me. I don't know. Can you see what's in the bottom of it?
Yeah, sloshing water. Okay.
Water. So when I have babies like this, their substrate is water. And that's because I think that they do better with a little higher humidity, and I think it encourages them to drink. Now, the bad part about it is I need to change the water almost every day in these things because they're all, you know, they're just pooping a little bit in it, or even if they get off in it, and you'll notice that was super shallow. So like there's no risk that this thing could drown itself. If it gets off the perch and it slithers in the water, which is what I want because it helps hydrate it and encourages it to drink. Now, once they're eating well, they get a little bit bigger. I can get a large water, you know, relatively large water dish in there. Then it's just easier to keep these things not on water. So, but I think you could probably keep these things on water all the way through their entire life if you're willing to change the water almost every day. Okay. And it gets harder, you know, once you move it into a PVC cube that's 2 by 2 by 2, you know, how are you going to keep water, you know, as a substrate there? That'd be really hard. But while they're in tubs like this, it's easy to keep them as a water substrate, and I think it can be beneficial.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that just got my thought process going. I was like, I remember seeing that. I wonder what the deal with that was. That's cool.
But what if you put like a water bowl in the PVC cage? Could you do that? Like a bigger one?
Oh yeah, I mean, I really encourage a water dish with a large surface area.
Okay.
You know, for these things all the time, even as babies, you know, they'll get a water dish after they get off the water substrate. They'll get a water dish with a large surface area, and I think that helps in the adults too. So okay. I'll use something like, hold on a sec. So I'll use something like this as my water dish for my adults.
Okay. That's a big bowl.
It's relatively shallow, but it's got large surface area on it. So
respect. Okay.
I was going to say
use dog bowls for a lot of my snakes.
Hell yeah, dog bowls would work too. That's essentially the size of a dog bowl. But the great thing about these is they're disposable. I don't throw them away every time I use them, but you know, I can use them multiple times and then just trash them. So.
Yeah. For my smaller species and my smaller like the smaller boas, I use those blacks. Are they made by Sterilite? They may be, so there's buy them at Target in like a 15 pack for like $15, and I'll use those like a handful of times. And once like any stainage or anything that goes into it, I'm just like, yep, out into the recycling bin you go. I'm over it. Like I'm not sitting here deep scrubbing water dishes. Once they start to get gross, I'm like done.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I'm the same way. I don't do that. I mean, I like to have. I like the dishes that I have because they're kind of in between. I don't throw them away every time I use them, but when it's time to throw them away, I'm throwing them away and not giving them a deep cleaning.
For sure. The dog bowls, I keep those for the big boys.
Yeah,
those are expensive. The Rubbermaid freaking giant ones, like with my 7-foot female and her big old enclosure, like a good chunk of it's a water dish. Giant dog bowl I found at Tractor Supply. I was like, hell yeah, let's go. It's like a perfect thing for snakes.
Yeah, you want something that they can't tip over, right?
Oh, dude, man. Well, you keep bigger species, right? You keep carpets.
I keep carpets and Borneos.
There you go. So you know the struggle when they knock those water. You go through the first time when they're reaching adulthood and they're getting into that size, you're not used to it, and you got just some regular water bowl in there, and you're trying to figure out which one they can and can't knock down. It's such a pain in the butt.
Yeah. Yeah. Find the right water dish. It makes a huge difference.
So on to other species real quick, right before we get into the next subject. So you're keeping Borneo, rough scales, carpets, ball pythons. Is there anything else that you're keeping over there?
I've got a couple Central American boas, females that are
my man
5 years old this year. Yeah,
boas are white.
Again, man, I'm just I know so little about them, but I really enjoy them. They're different for sure than the pythons. So I enjoy keeping them. I don't even know if I'll breed them. I've got 2 females that'll be ready to breed this year. They'll be 5, but I don't know if I'm going to even breed them. But it's the vast majority of animals I keep are ball pythons. But I produce a Borneo or 2 Borneo clutches every year. I love those. They're so different too. Oh my God, especially compared to the green trees. I describe the green tree pythons as like the fighter jets, and the Borneos are like the tanks. Man, it's so different. But I like those too. So yeah, I'm keeping a pretty. I guess that's not really a wide variation in species, but I keep a handful of species here, and it's great because they all do well in the same temperature restraints, roughly.
Amen. You should breed those Central Americans, by the way. Have you ever done a species that does live birth?
Never.
Oh, do you have to do it once? Promise me you'll at least do it once.
All right.
I know it's the same thing with the green tree pythons. There's a lot of stigma. There's a lot of risk. But I promise you, I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to. Next season, I will have my first litter hit the ground. But every boa breeder I talk to here in Arizona, we have a really tight-knit network here.
Yeah.
Just the emotion that comes off of, I'm going to shameless plug. Patrick at Graceful Serpents and Chad at Tice Reptiles. Watching the emotions flow out of them talking about their moms giving live birth, man.
Yeah.
And when Patrick goes in, we'll have him on next weekend. You should tune in, and I'll bring it up. If you drop a comment, and I'll switch the subject over to it, catch him off guard, and just watch the emotion when he talks about watching the live birth go down. He has caught it multiple times. It's insane.
Well, maybe we'll do it together this year then. But I've got to get more connected into the boa world, to be honest.
Well, you're up there. You claim not to be a legend. You're up there with the legends, man. You got some really big names. Right? I'm sure you're cool with Dave Levison, right?
Oh yeah.
Give him a call.
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy's funny, man. That guy's
I love
funny.
Dave. Every podcast he does, I'm on it. He spits out so much boa knowledge, man. Talk about an encyclopedia. He
is. He's one of those guys that just knows so much about so many species. My knowledge base is so narrow. I mean, I feel like I can consider myself as close to an expert in green trees as there is in But man, so many people out there have such a broad knowledge base about so many different species.
So real quick though, you are so needed in this industry though, right? And more breeders like you. Yes, Dave Levison, Jaffe, Patrick, he works in multiple species. MJ, for example, right? They're just as necessary, but I feel like we need more Bill Stiegels because I feel like this industry has gotten so into the broadside, like the very specific species, the knowledgeable ones in one species, right, are starting to become far and in between, where you don't have as many Stiegels out there, where you were so necessary because when you get into it, you're like, green tree pythons. The first name I've heard more than anybody else, Bill Stiegel, Phoenix Reptiles. 10 out of 10, go to him, learn what he has to offer, and follow it like the Bible. That is now your religion in these snakes because you are so knowledgeable in that species. Garrett Hartle's a good one. Super dwarf for tips,
Super
right?
dwarfs, yeah. Well, I appreciate it. Those are kind words, and I'll just be the first to say that I'm not the only one that's been doing this for quite a while and it's been successful doing it. There are plenty of other Bill Stiegels out there in the green tree world. I just have a passion for wanting to teach and expand our community. So, like, that's why I love to do podcasts like this because, I would rather come on a podcast and inform people that have misconceptions about green trees than get on a podcast with a bunch of green tree guys, that are just, spouting, about difference about humidity or spraying or not to spray or feed mice or feed rats, blah, blah, blah. I would much rather, come on in here and just, dispel some myths about keeping green trees.
Oh, hey, man, I think you've done a great job of it so far. There's been a lot of anybody that wants to get into this could come back to this and watch this over and really, really get into it.
Yeah, I really learned. Like, I researched. I was telling Levi, I researched a lot, so I really want to get into chondros.
Yeah,
I think 10 out of 10.
Yeah, I think it's important. You got to do your research. But when the time comes to pull the trigger, just get, like I said, I tell so many times, get the right snake from the right person, put it in the right box, and you got a 95% chance of having really, really good success and enjoyment out of that animal.
So, Bill, let me pick your brain real quick, right? We're doing this for knowledge base. So, as far as like my experience in the industry goes and like where I've been and what I've done so far, like I'm really drawn to want to work with wild caught. And it's not just the green tree pythons, but like I really love imports because there's such a difficulty, there's a risk, and the attitude. So most of my snakes have attitude, except for I guess with the boas, I've kind of worked into getting more calm ones. But like my carpet, right? Like my carpet it's got an attitude on it that I've never experienced before. But for a not politically correct statement, I get off on this shit. Like it's fun.
I get it.
I'm that fucking weirdo. And I get it with the whole USR thing, like spicy animals aren't the best. I don't put the shit out on camera. But when I'm alone in my damn snake room, like being up against a snake that's trying to kill you, it's fun. It's an adrenaline rush, and it's different than just pulling out a snake and be like, oh, look, it's a snake. Like, no offense to people that love that. Like, nothing like that. Sure. But there's an excitement in it. You know what I mean? And it's fun taming the animal down. Eventually it will tame down, maybe. I don't know. This might actually be a lifer where it's just an asshole.
I get that. I understand it. Like, that's not me, okay? But I understand people. It's like the people, to me, that keep venomous. Like that's just not me. But I think a lot of the same reasons that they keep venomous is what you just described, right?
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree with that?
I agree.
Yeah, I concur. That's why I have such a hard time fucking saying something to them when they're doing dumb shit. I get it.
But for the green trees, all I can tell you is that a lot of times those things will not calm down. An imported Biak is not going to calm down a lot of times with minimalistic handling. All it's doing is stressing out the animal. And then again, but if that's what you want to do, as long as you understand the inherent risks of that, and then I would encourage you to find somebody that specializes in that, and I can help you find those people that do bring in imports, and they're responsible about it. They'll even make sure that the animal's established. They'll make sure it's eating. They'll even do parasite treatment if that's not your thing. Then you get your import or your farm bred. We'll call it farm breds, and so that's legal, and imports are not.
Okay.
Then you get your animal, and as long as you know the risks, then man, go to town and enjoy it.
Okay, cool. That's I'll message you about that because I'm curious. I don't know, man. I know it's weird, and I understand the risk of it. And a lot of people, look at us like the ones that work with these animals are stupid. I know not you, but like I've been called stupid for it.
No, I mean I think there's a place for it. But I think you're unusual. I think most people that want to get, especially their first green tree, they don't want it to be super defensive. They don't want it to be a challenge. They want to, take the baby steps first and, build up some confidence with the species. And then if they want to, do something that's more advanced, then go for it.
And I get where Levi's coming from because I didn't want snakes that were like that. And then I get the retic, and she is a feisty one. Yeah, she is feisty. Yeah. And she tried to bite me in the face, and I'm like, oh. And then you get that little adrenaline rush. So I get where he's coming from. So I know what he's talking about.
Has she gotten you in the face yet? Have you been tagged in the face yet? No, have you been tagged in the face yet?
Me?
By any species at all?
Hell no.
Okay. Well, looks like I'm alone. So I don't know, man. I relate to Josh over at SB. I get it. Like with the spicy ones and working with them. Like once you get hit, it's not that bit, like obviously not by venomous, but non-venomous. You kind of get used to it dealing with the spicy ones after a while. Like I went over to a buddy's house. I opened up a tub and it's a little baby boa. And he's like, oh, that one's got attitude. I'm looking at it. I'm like, this one doesn't have attitude. It's not even freaking arching up at me yet. Like its head's not back. I'm good. So I'm looking at its head stamp and I'm like, dude, I'm pretty sure this is a certain whap. Straight on the bridge of the nose. Like got me super good. I was like, oh, okay, cool. That's how we're gonna be from now on. Word. And just moved on with my day.
We got some other green tree people in the chat. I see my boy Chuck.
Yeah, Chuck. I love Chuck.
You guys know Chuck?
I talked to Chuck, yeah.
Chuck's hilarious. He just had his first clutch of green trees this last year. And super passionate about the species. I guarantee you I know his wife, and she's not on the chat right now. But what happens at Sexin and Flexin stays at Sexin and Flexin, right?
That's right.
Absolutely. I was going to say, Chuck, I don't know you, but you're more than welcome to stay in my triple wide doghouse, bro. Me and Chucky live there because we're constantly in trouble. You're more than welcome.
And not only that, I'm just like, and Chuck, dude, he's really really intelligent. Like his collection and everything is phenomenal too. I want to get him on too, dude. I've been trying to get him on, which I need to talk to you about. Yeah,
you should get him on. He's a good guy, and he's also good for promoting green trees. Just for the other thing we haven't talked about is a lot of green tree keepers and breeders have a reputation of being like kind of elitist or just not. They don't play well with others. They think they're superior, and I think that's so much farther from the truth. And Chuck's one of the guys that if you have on the show, he also he'll help your viewers understand that that's just not the case.
Okay, cool. No, that is good to know. I mean, I don't know. I've always looked at green tree python keepers and breeders as elitists. Not like you guys are untouchable or have egos, but like I feel, I don't know. I've always felt like green tree pythons, like once you're to your level, like you're an elitist in my opinion. Like you've done something, you've worked with one of the hardest species. At least that's the outside looking in has always been like you want a challenge, you get into green tree pythons, right? Regardless of how you get the animal, it's not a boa, it's not a ball python. You're getting into one of the most advanced in my opinion. Because you have to be more delicate. You have to take different steps and do things. But Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I agree with some of that. I agree with certainly producing them is would be like an intermediate or advanced, step in reptiles, but certainly not keeping them. Keeping them has now become I wouldn't say they're entry level, but they're not far from entry level.
Okay.
I would certainly put a green tree in the hands, a well-established animal in the hands of a first-time snake owner, if they were local to me. If I had the ability to have them come over and I was able to see what cage they put it in and, guide them really on a personal level, and I'd give a first-time snake owner a green tree, no doubt about it.
So that's kind of like mentoring. You would mentor them.
Yeah, for sure. And I mentor a lot of people locally and not locally. I wouldn't recommend a green tree for a first-time snake owner that I couldn't literally have hands on locally.
Okay.
But for somebody that really just wants a green tree because they make such fantastic display animals, they want it for their home or their office. Man, I would let them do it. I'd do it. I'd mentor them. I'd check out their setup and make sure they knew how to use a temp gun and a thermostat, and boom, you're off to the races.
Word. That's awesome. And see that if I get a green tree, I think I'm gonna stay in the keeping realm. I don't think I'll breed, to be honest with you. Like maybe somewhere down the road, but like I've always wanted that exactly what you just said, that display animal.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like
And
that attention stealing, like look at
Absolutely.
this.
Absolutely. And the great thing about green trees is the good and the bad thing is, I think it's more good is you have to have that animal for a long time before you can even consider breeding it if you're going to be successful. Now, if you got an imported Biak, adult, you could establish it and try to breed it a year later. Not likely to have great success doing that.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
but if you did it the other way and you just got like a baby or a juvenile that's 2 years old or less, then you raise this thing up, especially if it's a female. You got to have 3 years of experience with it before you could even think about breeding it. And that 3 years is a long time. That animal and that species. You keep 1 or 2 of them. Them really well, and then you could do it if you want to.
okay, I concur. So out of curiosity, Bill, right? So I see that you have your neonates in tubs. What would your advice be to somebody that wants to start with an enclosure right off the rip? Is that a possibility, or is it not? Or I guess, is it not suggested to, or is it? Is it possible?
Oh yeah, for sure. Now that's again because at least with me, I don't release these things until they're really most of them are 6 months old. Okay, by the time that I'm willing to release it, especially to somebody that's going to be their first green tree. But you can take something like, oh man, I'll try to show this. You see this little enclosure right here? So
Yeah.
That's a focus cube habitat, 12 inch by 12 inch by 12 inch.
Oh, sorry. Let me there.
And you can easily put a 6-month-old animal in that, and it's going to do awesome. And I've got it very minimalistically set up. I have one little green plastic fake orchid looking thing in there. And that's it. But you could decorate that thing and bling it out all you wanted, and the animal's going to do great there. So yeah, you can definitely do it in a display cage, for an animal that's well established.
Okay.
I like those focus cube tubs. I mean,
oh my
cages.
God,
Enclosures.
Enclosures, yes.
Yeah, again, let me rep my friends because they are good friends of mine. They're a Houston-based company. Stephen and Ashley Howdy. They make the Cadillac of enclosures. So, man, it's great stuff. They make this really for. I think they made it specifically for baby green tree pythons. It's got built-in heat in the back of it. Awesome perches. It's ready to go. So
Nice.
Yeah, you don't need to keep babies in tubs.
Respect. That's awesome. Yeah, and shout out to Focus Keep Habitat, man. You need an enclosure. Go to Focus Cube. They make everything, right? Like all the way up to like 8x2x2s. There's nothing that they don't have.
They'll make everything. I think they make an enclosure the size of this freaking room if you ask them to.
Oh, that is hella dope. Thinking about that later down the line. Down the line later.
For that SD.
You know, that's a great thing about the green trees. You can keep them in very simplistic, literally just like you would a ball python. You can keep them in a damn tub, with heat tape and a thermostat and the lid, or you can put them in, Cadillac housing. It's just, they've got a lot of variation in how you can keep them successfully.
Oh my God.
I have bred green trees. I've bred a small female in a Cambro tub successfully.
Wow.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
Man,
All right,
Chip
Bill.
is coming at me. Chip is coming at me. Look at this. He said, I felt elite when I figured out what I could feed my king snake. And then he said, I wonder if they make a king snake enclosure.
Man, they're busting your balls pretty good, Chris.
Yes, he is. But I love Chip. I would love to have a show with Chip because that shit would be funny.
Chip, you text me and let me know when you want to come on the show, Pop-Tart boy. Let's do this. I'm bringing the Pop-Tarts. All right, Bill.
It's all love.
I'm going to open up a can of controversy here. Are you ready for this?
Let's do it.
Why the hell did you make a Capondro? I have to know.
Okay. First of all, I didn't make the Carpondro. I own a Carpondro.
Okay, why do you own one?
Because they're fucking awesome.
Yeah. He said what I would say because they're fucking awesome.
Every single person that walks in here, okay, snake person, not a snake person, only have a ball python, they come up to that Carpondro and they go, this is the coolest snake in your whole place.
Can we
and
see
the
it?
other reason that I have it is because it pisses my friend Gary Shavino off.
I'm team Gary Shavino all day. I'm sorry. I love you, Bill, but no, I'm not. I don't enjoy. I don't like him. I obviously don't have a choice, but I don't. I'm not.
I'm going to show you this Carpondro. Okay.
Let's see it. Let's go.
Okay.
I'm gonna show
Let's see
you.
a Capondro.
Give me 1 second.
I've been wanting to see this.
I got to go into this other room.
Chris's soul is smiling right now, Bill.
I am.
That's not the Carpondro, but look at that girl hunting. Big girl.
Damn.
You want to see her?
She's gorgeous.
So this is their Carpondro.
Oh my God.
It looks like a carpet, but it acts like a green tree.
That's awesome, bro. Like, that's awesome. How could you not say that's not awesome?
See, if I was ignorant and I didn't know what it was, I'd be like, yeah, it's super sick. But knowing it's a hybrid, just
Well, again, we could have a whole different show about hybrids. But my philosophy on those is we're keeping all these things in a box for our entertainment, right?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't know it's a hybrid. We're not going to release it into the wild. All of these things. And really, what most of us are doing is selective breeding anyway. You're not going to find this shit in the wild. You're not going to find these high yellow jungle carpets in the wild or these, blue Carpondros or blue green trees. You're not going to find this stuff in the wild. We're kind of really Frankensteining them anyway. I don't know. Like I said, we could have a whole show about, purists versus hybrids. And I think some of the hybrids are let's do it. I think.
I was going to say, you just treated him. Yeah. He's going to say, let's do it.
I think some of them are abominations, right? Like I would never, ever do it. And I do understand, hybrids are a big deal, like in the short tail community, because the hybrids can look so much like a pure Borneo or pure blood that then you start getting lines confused. But nobody's going to confuse a Carpondro for a green tree. I mean, you're just not going to. That's not going to happen. So,
okay. I feel that. I see that. Okay, that eliminates my biggest anyways. Yeah, we should do that, Bill. Out out of just a sheer fun show, do the hybrids versus the purists. We have to make sure we have guests that want to do it for fun, and we're not going to take it to that because I've been in those arguments where it goes to the next level. You know what I mean? And people get all personal about it. I mean, my God, let me bring a BCC breeder on here and a BCI breeder. It
could get ugly, huh?
Oh, bro, put them in the same room together. Gloves are coming off. It's going to get nasty.
Yeah.
Because being a boa person, I understand it. Like, but it's like you said, we're so deep into this shit, like putting them in boxes and selective breeding these things. Like, I don't think there's any going backwards.
Yeah. I mean, I get both sides of the argument, but as long as it's individual choice, man, and you're treating the animals responsibly, then to be honest, it doesn't bother me. I have a hybrid in my collection, so.
Hey man, it's a beautiful hybrid. I'll give you that. That is definitely an attention stealing animal,
for sure.
It's gorgeous. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, I told Levi I want to see that thing. I'm gonna ask him.
You got to come see it in person in RVC in September.
I'll take you up on that.
You are welcome.
My soul's gonna cry, but I'll do it. All right, Bill.
Say he ain't even lying.
I'm really not. The fact that I know I'm gonna enjoy it makes my soul hurt even more. I love carpets. I love pythons. I love green tree pythons. I love them, so it makes sense.
I've got a spicy carpet here we can get out.
Let's go. Oh, don't tempt me, man. You speaking my love language right now.
Is that not for me?
I've had this girl. I didn't produce her. I got her from Eric Burke as a baby. This girl's probably 10 years old now, maybe 12. But she was spicy as a baby, and she's every bit as spicy now.
That is my kind of snake, man. I'm telling you.
You come over, show me how it's done.
I don't know, man. We'll see.
I'll be laughing in the back, bro.
Got hydrogen peroxide just to remove the blood from the floor?
Oh my God.
So, Bill, I have a wrap-up topic for you.
Okay.
If you're open to a round two, whether we do purists versus hybrids for fun or just bring more attention to green tree pythons.
Let's do it.
I want to talk on what?
What Eden put?
I bet.
Nobody wants to see that.
And Chip's still going hard, dude. He says, "Is as spicy as a king snake's eating snakes."
They're not letting it go, Chris. Not letting it go.
Bro, this is worse than the microwave.
All right.
So, Bill, I want to wrap this up on a. Really wish. Well, I guess we'll do a wrap up to a wrap up because I don't want to end it on negativity, but I do want to talk a little bit about what happened in Florida. Right, we saw the FWC, a government entity, overstep bounds in one of the worst ways that this hobby has ever seen. Right, everybody's heartbroken, everybody's devastated. I can only imagine how the snake owner's feeling. What's your take on it, man? Like, I know, not a lot of people know the gory details of it, and that's okay. But just outside looking in, right? What's your perspective on it? What's going through your head? What's going through your heart as a reptile lover, enthusiast, breeder on the subject? Watching what happened unfold. Yeah,
I mean, I think like probably every other person that's on this podcast right now or that's on social media, it's fucking tragic. And I'm wearing my U.S. ARC shirt because my Florida ARC shirt hasn't come in yet. It prompted me to join Florida ARC, and I hope a lot of other people join that organization as well because they got an issue there. They've always, looking back at it, they've always had problems, in Florida with regulation of reptiles there. But, I think this has brought to light to a lot of people, including myself, that they've got a big problem there. And so they really need a lot of support. And as you know, support comes down to two things. It comes down to contacting people and it comes down to money. And so, it's at least prompted me, who I think, Levi, we talked for a minute or two before we started the live show. I only know what I've seen on social media about this particular incident. I'm not a big snake keeper. The people that were involved in this and a lot of the other people that keep big snakes, I'm not in that wheelhouse, right? I mean, but I understand the importance and the significance of what happened there at that facility. And so, at this point, all we can do is ask for accountability. And I think, like in a lot of things that we've seen here recently, at least I hope, it's a couple of bad apples and, that have done bad things. At this point, I don't know enough to just throw the baby out with the bathwater. But certainly at least a handful of individuals need to be held accountable for their actions. And I'm willing to let that play out. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens to those particular officers. And I'm hoping that the justice system prevails and that those people are ousted and, justice prevails. I don't know. We're just going to have to wait and see.
I concur, and absolutely, I would love to see a precedent set for the future that this is not acceptable. We as a community, a tight knit community, when the shit hits the fan, we all come together, and this is a prime example. Like, people have set their differences aside in every shape or form to prove like this. You don't mess with this community. Period. Like, we do not tolerate this. We will not accept this in any level. I mean, I'm so tight knit in the Green Tree Pythons, still, reaching out, giving that support.
There's a lot of Green Tree people in Florida, man. Texas and Florida are really the two biggest Green Tree Python states in the country. So there are a lot of Green Tree people in Florida. And Levi, to your point, I mean, I've seen people in the reptile community come together for great causes. Most of the time, it's for other keepers. That have run into issues, problems. I've never seen a gathering like this for something that happened like this with this much support, for really wanting justice. I haven't seen it before personally.
See, I get where y'all are going, but I also like, why does it have to take something like this for us to come together? Why couldn't we just come together, a long time ago? When we were pushing USARC and preaching USARC, like, why did it have to take this to happen for us to start doing something when we should have been doing something then?
So my answer to that, and Bill, let's see if you concur, it's just how the human race operates, Chris. It's unfortunate, but it's almost something that you have to accept, right? Like, yeah, we can make our incremental changes and get more support overall, but it's not going to be an overnight difference, right? So for this, not comparing the two, not saying there's any relevance to the two, but the best example is 9/11. America has never stood as united together as we did on 9/12.
Yeah, you're right.
The day after 9/11.
Yeah.
Why did it take 3,000 people to die in an absolute fucking tragedy from an attack of another country for us to stand that united? It's just how the human race works. You look at other countries and tragedies that they sustained, and they stand the most united the day after the tragedy. Is just human race, man. It's how we work. And it's, I kind of want to eliminate that mental, like, it's an important note to take, but also, like, let's take advantage of the situation. You know what I mean? Like, we got to take this huge, blistering, negative, fucking despicable act and do turn it into positive and take the tragedy that it took to unite us to use that to push against this. Like, we have to stay focused on we want to see these officers relieved of duty. We want to see changes made in the FWC to where each person that is going to have this authority to go into a facility, if they have this authority to euthanize animals, you need to get the correct ones. You took $100,000 worth of litter away from this man outside of the emotional attachment to that animal. Let me tell you, from a BOA keeper, and speaking only on the BOA, I do not keep her ticks and berms like others do. I will let them speak on their place. But a person that is involved in the BOA community, that understand the love, the passion, the patience, the understanding, the risk that you take in breeding a female boa. To lose her in that situation is fucking bullshit. I can only sympathize and empathize with the owner. I will never walk his shoes after that experience, and it will not happen again. That's
Well,
it.
I think you're right, Levi. We're much more of a reactive, whether it's reptiles or 9/11, we tend to be much more reactive than proactive. And I don't know if there's a solution to that, to be honest. But I'm glad to see that so many people are reacting. And I hope, you mentioned 9/11, and maybe we could have a political discussion too. But it seems like a lot of people are forgetting 9/11. What happened, a foreign country that just brought us to our knees, and it just looks like we're being set up for that to happen, again. So let's remember what's happened in the past and learn from it. Let's try to be more proactive than reactive. Because there are things we can do now in the reptile community. There's some things we can do in the government now to try to prevent, terrible, terrible shit from happening again. So that's my 2 cents on that. We do have, we've got MJ. I just saw he's in. I'm glad that he's here. I'm on his podcast I've been on his podcast, but I'm much more a viewer of his podcast than I am a guest on his podcast, but I'm glad he's here.
Absolutely. Oh, it's great to see you, MJ.
Right.
I'll be on Trap Talk tomorrow for anybody that's interested in showing up. Much appreciated.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, great. I'll into that for sure.
Same shoes.
It's going to be fun.
More of a viewer than a attender. I love watching MJ show, and he's the only reason I'm doing this, man.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll be there tomorrow.
I appreciate that.
Bro, I'm not gonna lie, MJ is the one that got us motivated. Actually, I watched one of his podcasts, and I was just like, I want to do that.
Awesome. Now you're doing it.
And now we're doing it.
Got sponsors and everything.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
And we got good sponsors. I didn't think we could get sponsors like that. And we got some good sponsors.
You do have good sponsors.
So on that, I'm gonna ask my question, then you ask yours, or you want to go first and then me?
Oh, just make sure it's something positive. I want to end the show on a very, very
positive. I was
positive.
just gonna ask my question,
go.
As long as you've been in the reptile community, what is one thing that you would change in the community / industry, whether it be substrate, hobby, the negativity, or whatever it may be.
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think that, this comes down to two things. It comes down to the animals and the people. And so we really can't change the animals, but we can change the people in the community. And I think I've seen, at least in the last 20 years, I think a higher quality of person in the reptile community across the board. And I was so quiet in the ball python community for so long. I mean, I've kept ball pythons for over almost 25 years. I never really became a big part of the community in large because I just didn't like a lot of the leaders in that community at the time. I thought they were not transparent. I thought they took advantage of people. And now I think the leaders in that community are awesome. And I'll use my friend Justin Kabolka is really one of them. He's done so much for the ball python community, the reptile community. He's just a good guy. If you ever meet him or you ever talk to him, he's never wronged anybody. He's never tried to take advantage of anybody. He's very humble. And that was not always the case in the ball python community, specifically a long time ago. So I've seen really positive changes. And I think it's part of the reason that the reptile community, I know a lot of veterinarians. And if you look at the reptile growth versus dog and cat growth over the last decade, man, it's through the roof. reptiles are mainstream now. And 10 or 15 years ago, man, you didn't have 12-year-old soccer mom, buying, their 12-year-old girl ball python,
This is true. This is fact. Yeah.
It's mainstream now, much, much more mainstream. And I think that has a lot to do with the people that are involved in the community. So.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I was talking about her today with my friend's daughter, talking about 12-year-olds getting into ball pythons, right?
Yeah.
Actually, she's 10, so even younger.
Even younger.
We were talking about snake discovery, man. Justin Canova, snake discovery, Brian Barczyk, right?
Yeah.
Three of the biggest YouTubers, I think, that do the best of bringing kids into this hobby.
Absolutely.
They're well-spoken, respectful. They don't do people wrong. They portray a perfect image of what you would want to be getting kids into the hobby.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah. Going back 10, 15, 20 years, you didn't have those three amongst the other names. Don't get me wrong, right? I'm not trying to shit on anybody or leave anybody out intentionally, but those are the names that immediately come to mind.
Yeah, sure. There's a huge number. You could list 50 other people that are really the top, pinnacle of that community or the reptile community in general. That are nothing but good stewards and ambassadors for what we love to do. So,
amen. All right, Bill. Send this on a positive note. I'm gonna ask you a fun question.
All right.
You've been in the game. So is it 20 years exactly, or is it more than 20 years?
It's been more than 20. So I think I got my first ball python in 1998. So that'd be about 20. At 25 years, right?
Yeah. There you go. So we're gonna say 25 years of vast knowledge, experience. If I eliminated every law and every inhibitor, so you have free reign, you have a magic wand in the size enclosure the animal fits in, everything is perfect. You could add one reptile to your collection right now, and it cannot be a Komodo dragon. What is it?
That's pretty simple for me. It'd be a Boland's python.
Damn, how did I not see that coming? Why don't you have a Boland's?
Several. I mean, I guess I don't have enough excuses why I don't have one. I should have one. There's really no reason for me not to have one because they're a pinnacle arboreal, semi-arboreal species. If you've ever got to interact with a Boland's python, man, they're really special. I don't know. It could be a long conversation. Part of it is availability. If they were reproducing in captivity with some certainty and regularity, I'd have one in a heartbeat. I'm just a little concerned, and it's the same way with the green trees. Like, okay, imported green trees. I'm a little concerned about them being plucked out of the wild.
Ooh, okay.
So I don't want to see them ever become a time where they become endangered. And I'm just saying that not knowing really a lot of the specifics about, I just think there's an opportunity for them to become over harvested. And the fact that they can't be produced in captivity really hurts them as a species.
Absolutely. All right, Bill, real quick. Let's take a quick time out. We are going to bring you back for a round 2 for sure. And I know the main topic because you just touched on it, and I don't have 2 hours to go in on this. But Chris, you better bring your big boy pants because I got. Okay. Oh my God, we just found the guest for it. I have been fucking boiling this in my head for weeks now. Bill Stiegel, Sexin and Flexin, Part 2. We are going to discuss true conservation of animals and why we truly do what we do and how far away from that mental this hobby's gotten.
I'd be happy to be involved. And I'll tell you, I'll be involved probably more learning than contributing because...
Well, your mental, that you just put out, you don't hear that anymore.
Yeah.
your main priority in not adding your dream species is because you've done the research and you understand that we can't fully reproduce them in captivity, so they have to be plucked from the wild, and with that comes desire, and desire leads to harming the wild population of the animal. So oh man, I'm gonna open a can of worms.
I mean, maybe it would. Maybe you can bring some people on here that would maybe disagree with that statement that I made, or better yet, have some evidence to prove me wrong. In that, and boy, we could get some great people on here. Friends of mine, I'm friends with Ari, who's probably has done more work over there and have seen the animals firsthand, probably more than any person that I can think of. Keith McPeak, one of my best friends, has been trying to reproduce these in captivity for a decade.
Okay.
So if you wanted to do Bolins, we could have an awesome lineup. We could get those guys on. If you wanted to do conservation in general, that would be a great show too.
We could tackle they go side and side. So let's line that up. Let's get this going. I just got super freaking excited, Bill. Oh my God. You've been the answer, because I've been stewing on this one, man, and it's fun. There it is. Bill Stiegel, ladies and gentlemen, the birther of ideas.
I don't know about that, but I'm happy to come back on.
Let's do it, man. Yeah, there's definitely going to be part 2, 3, 4, as many as you want. I
really enjoyed him being here.
Yeah, we're over 2 hours, and I feel like we can go another 4 or 5 easily.
Seems like just a few minutes to me.
Right? I blinked and I was like, oh my God, it's been that long. So, yeah, on that. So your dream species would be a Bolins, and you stop yourself by true conservation. Respect, sir.
Appreciate that.
I'm excited too, about as excited as a king snake eating another snake.
Oh my God, Chip.
All right, Chip.
They're not going to let it go.
Right.
Dude,
all right.
We ain't got time for it, but it's another microwave, so we're okay.
Right. I'll let that one go for the night. I love Chip. I was gonna say we could also probably bring Bill and MJ back on, but I was like, nah, we'll bring those people that he mentioned.
Oh, I'd love to do an episode with MJ.
Dude, MJ's right in that circle, man. We could do a multi-panel on this true conservation, because I know MJ's about it too, bro. That's another big name into the ideology of conservation and the true meaning of it. So
absolutely.
That'd be awesome. We'll set that up. We'll try to set that up.
Yeah, we're gonna have to. That's gonna be a big scheduling balance, but we got this. This is gonna be great. Let's do it. MJ, if you're still here, bro, you better be ready. Oh my God, we're gonna throw MJ. Oh man, I'm getting so excited. I'm gonna be like a little kid.
MJ,
this is gonna be one of the podcasts
where
I just shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
So, and
that's rare.
It is pretty rare. I think there's been like 3 podcasts where I've sat back. Like this one, I tried my best. Thank you, Bill, for guesting on the show. It's been
thank you guys for letting me kind of promote my passion.
Absolutely, man. No, we're gonna do another part. We're gonna do a part 2 on the green trees. Like we have to. There's still some. I feel like we scratched the tip of the iceberg.
For sure.
I was gonna say, let Bill drop himself, like where they can find him: Instagram, Facebook. Go ahead, Bill.
Solo man, plug yourself.
2 social media platforms that I'm on. Instagram, it's phoenix.reptiles, and then I'm on Facebook as Bill Stiegel, and I also have a business Facebook that's Phoenix Reptiles. So not too hard.
Respect. Right. I will post Bill on my Instagram. Chris will get his links put up on the YouTube
on the description. Yes, I got to work on that tonight. Actually,
always happy to talk green trees in particular, about up and coming keepers. So,
bro, I was excited for this. So I had questions ready for you.
Good.
I was like, man, I really want to start like working with chondros and neos and all that. So.
We'll get you hooked up, man. I'm glad you thought about just having me on. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you again, Bill. It's been an incredible live. And again, I feel like we have a very big future ahead of us together. Thank you again so much.
Thank you, guys.
Well, have a good night, Bill.
Guys, too.
All right. Now let's shout out the sponsors so we can go get off and get on. So we're gonna shout out Reptile Crew for the merch. Thank you, brother, as always, coming through with the merch.
Only good
Best
quality had to cover this chrome dome, bro.
And we got South Bay Reptiles, who I'm wearing right now. Who Levi's mad because he didn't get a shirt.
Damn it, Josh.
And I got him a shirt from Ship Your Reptiles, but he didn't pick that up today.
Oh, excuse me. I was busy, motherfucker. Shout out to CMB.
Yes, go ahead.
CMB Reptile, #1 selected captive bred animals in the world, undisputed. Those are my fam. Go hit them up.
And then shout out to Ship Your Reptiles. Even though I said that the shirt, use Flexin 23, you get $15 off your shipping. Go over there, use Ship Your Reptiles, get a shirt. They have hats, they got merch. Go check them out.
Make sure to get a picture with Susie at any expo you go to.
Oh yes, she's awesome. I love Susie. She's so awesome. Chad too. Chad, very knowledgeable. On that, KC Reptile Lab. Shout out to KC Reptile Lab, our sponsor for Substrate. We have another code there for, I forgot what it is, but I'll put it in the description. I know it's Flexin something, but you get 15% off. On that note, guys, I think that's all the sponsors, right?
I hope so.
Reptile Crew, CMB, yeah, that's all of them. Okay, on that note, we out of here, guys. We love you. Y'all have a great night, and we out.
This is a boa.